We all have been told in our career that data is the king, that facts don't lie. All you need is a powerful presentation, a clear ROI, and an undeniable set of bullet points. We have been taught to deliver information and not to convey a message. Stop boring your audience to death with data. Facts don't change people, stories do. And in the next 15 minutes, you will discover why your data-driven presentations are falling flat. We will expose together the secret behind every great leader and a communicator, because facts inform but stories sell. And this is going to be your guide to crafting compelling narratives that resonate with people and inspire action. We all have been told in our career that data is the king, that facts don't lie, that to win a client, a promotion, a job, or a team over, all you need is a powerful presentation, a clear ROI, and an undeniable set of bullet points. But here is the spoken fact. Facts inform, but the unspoken part, but stories sell. And the moment you learn the master of storytelling, you will stop convincing people and start inspiring them. Now, think about the last time you were in a boring meeting and the speaker was smart, prepared, and had dozens of amazing slides full of statistics, numbers, and amazing key finding. You all nodded along. You maybe even took notes. But after an hour later, could you remember even a single data point? Could you recall what the presentation was truly about? The problem isn't the data itself. The problem is how we are using it. We have been taught to deliver information and not to convey a message. We are so focused on being the right that we forget to be memorable. Facts are like individual stars in the galaxy. They are beautiful on their own, but they are impossible to navigate without a constellation, which is a story, to connect all of them bit by bit, dot by dot. So it's important. There's so many information available, but in the next 15 minutes, I will decipher using the framework, inspired framework coming out of my book, on how you can create compelling stories and take the data to the next level. This isn't just about giving a bad presentation. This is about being really real, tangible, and having a great consequences. But when we fail to tell a compelling story, we are not losing just a deal. The loss is more beyond the deal, right? You are going to lose the emotional connection that pursues a client to trust you over competitors. You are going to lose the shared vision that motivates your team to go that extra mile because they don't see themselves in the mission. And you lose the opportunity to be remembered. You became just another voice, just another deck in the daily torrents of information overdose which all of us find us to be in. And the cost is very, very simple. You become forgettable. You may have great ideas, you may have the data to back them up, but no one is truly listening because you are speaking to their brains, you're not speaking to their hearts. And that's the reality most of the speakers find themselves in. When you fail to tell a story, you are losing that opportunity to create an everlasting impact. And look at this.
I spoke about what it takes to lead the good company, one that drives change. And I talked about the dual meaning of the word good. The financial good defined by economic success and the moral good. So I wanted to be the good company, financially successful and morally good. In that room in Miami, I told the world that I wanted PepsiCo's contribution to society to be rooted in its core business model. I wanted to transform our entire business and actually make money a whole different way.
Did you notice how Indira Nooyi didn't just say, we need to grow revenues? She gave her team a story, the purpose beyond the profit that people could believe in. And that's what is going to stick in. Our brains are wired for stories. You will remember childhood stories. When we hear a compelling narrative, our brain releases oxytocin, that trust hormone. We don't just process information, we feel it. We create a shared experience with the storyteller. And that is why, remember, the moral of the fable, the plot of the movie, and the narrative of a successful brand. Now, how can we not talk about Simon Sinek?
And why is it that the Wright brothers were able to figure out controlled powered manned flight when there were certainly other teams who were better qualified, better funded, and they didn't achieve powered manned flight, and the Wright brothers beat them to it? There's something else at play here. About 3.5 years ago, I made a discovery, and this discovery profoundly changed my view on how I thought the world worked, and it even profoundly changed the way in which I operate in it.
Notice how he doesn't lead with features or statistics. He starts with a story, a purpose, and it's being watched millions of times. And that's the power of story. Stories provide context and meaning. They take a cold hard fact, just like, oh, our sales grew up by 15%. And instead of saying that, how about this? Last year, we had a customer who was on the verge of shutting down their small business. We worked tirelessly with them, and because of the solution, we built their business. It thrived, leading to achieving a 15% sales increase. And now, this is just not a number. It's a story of trust, resilience, partnership, and a larger impact, which could have just been diluted by just sharing 15% in sales growth. This is all good, but how do I apply this? Now, the question isn't whether to use facts or stories, but how do we weave them together? And this is where my inspired story framework comes into play. A proven method I have used to help leaders and myself and teams to transform their communication. Intent. What is that one thing you want your audience to feel or do? Start with the why. N, narrative arc. Every good story has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Introduce your character, a problem, a struggle, a resolution. S, specific detail. Just don't say it was a big problem. Describe the late nights, the customer frustration, and the specific challenges you face. Details makes the story real and sticky. For P, pain point. A great story hooks into the core problem your audience understand. Show them that you get their struggle. And I for impact. End with the result. What was the transformation? How did you solve the problem? This is where your data can live as proof of your story's success. With R, it's relatable character. The story or the hero of your story could be a customer, could be a colleague, could be a friend, and even you. They need to be someone who your audience can see themselves in. E for emotional core. What is the central feeling? Is it hope? Is it triumph? Or is it just a relief? Tap into the emotion that will make your story unforgettable. For D, it's decisive call to action. What should your audience do next? What is the final step? Now, take a look at this.
Let me talk about a category of things. The most advanced phones are called smartphones, so they say. And they typically combine a phone plus some email capability, plus they say it's the internet, sort of the baby internet, into one device, and they all have these plastic little keyboards on them. And the problem is that they're not so smart and they're not so easy to use. So if you kind of make a business school 101 graph of the smart axis and the easy to use axis, phones, regular cell phones are kind of right there. They're not so smart and they're not so easy to use.
Jobs could have led with specs. Instead, he told a story about merging the iPod, the phone, and the internet communicator into one. That story still continues to change industry, a $1 trillion empire. Now, let us see how leaders apply this in sales, turning pitches into client success stories, double closing rates. In leadership, reframing your quarterly updates into human-centric stories inspire teams. And in transformation projects, stories create alignment across hundreds of stakeholders. Look at this.
The pace of AI innovation this past year has been truly remarkable. But looking back, what stands out most is the incredible speed at which this technology has diffused. At Microsoft, it's never been about tech for tech's sake, but it's about translating innovation into real impact. One person, one organization, one community at a time. And throughout 2024, I've had the privilege of witnessing countless examples of this around the world.
It is not an earning update. That's a cultural storytelling, and it's why employee believed in the transformation. Facts are the language of the logic, but the stories are the language of influence. I have used this framework to help leaders transform from presenter into influential communicator, and I have no doubt you could do the same. And if you're ready to start telling your story that is captive and inspiring, I encourage you to dive deeper into this framework and more into my book, The Unspoken Truth, because there's a lot of stories to be told. Stop just sharing information. Start sharing a story. And thank you for watching.